to start with your PPE. First, you need your glasses, safety glasses, which are your Z87s. Then you need a hood. You need to have a minimum of shade 3. Then we have our leather. These are half sleeves. I recommend full sleeves or a full jacket, even leather pants if necessary. Also, you need to have natural fiber clothing and your work boots. No shorts.
Alright, so here we have a MC40-0 tip, and like all tips that you may find in your average welding and fabrication school, they are disgusting. So pretty much what we got to do here is you just kind of unscrew the top cap, pull out the actual nozzle with the tip inside of it, take apart the nozzle, and there you go. Alright, so pretty much what you're just going to want to do here is take out one of your little prongs that matches the size of the tip, and just, go ahead and clean out that oxygen channel to make sure that the oxygen flows nice and smoothly through there. Alright, now we're going to take our little prong here and just kind of clean out all the channels that go along with the tip. You just want to make sure that those are all clean and free-flowing again. You don't want any gunk or grime or buildup in there, just otherwise you're not going to achieve the cut that you want. Alright, so what we're doing here in this next clip is we're going to perform a leak down test on all the regulators, fittings, and lines running from the bottle to the torch itself. It's a pretty important test to do, especially if you're unsure of the condition of any of the lines or fittings that run from the bottle to the torch. It's a pretty simple test to do. All you got to do is crack open both of your bottles. You got to preset your regulator pressures, and then close off both of your bottles and just make sure that you're not losing any pressure. And as you can see here, we are doing pretty good. We're not losing any pressure from the propylene bottle and or the oxygen bottle. Alright, now that we know that all of our lines and fittings are good, we're going to actually crack open these bottles and get ready for some cutting. So pretty much what you're going to want to do here on the oxygen bottle is you're going to want to open up that oxygen bottle valve all the way. There's a valve inside there because the oxygen bottle is at such a high pressure, and you just need to open that up all the way. So pretty much what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to preset your regulator pressure dependent on what size tip you're running and what size thickness your material is that you're desiring to be cut. You can find all of that information either in your shop on a plaque or a piece of paper taped up on the wall somewhere. You can always just Google it for yourself. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to open up the fuel bottle and preset that pressure. Alright, so we're going to actually get into some cutting now. So what you're going to want to do is crack open that fuel valve and light that with a flint. And so once you have that going, you're just going to want to kind of slowly crack open your oxygen valve, first at the base and then more towards the tip. And what you're looking for here is before you press the actual handle down on the tip, you're going to want to look for good concise cones on the top of the flame where the actual gas comes out. And once you press down on the trigger on the torch body, you're going to want a good nice stream, and you're going to want to get rid of all the kind of fluffy flame that you're kind of looking at before you press down on it. Yeah, and that looks all good here. So what we're going to want to do after that is we're going to want to start preheating our metal. Right, so you want to get that metal to a good temperature. It just makes it nicer and easier to cut. And then once you believe that you've gotten the metal to a good temper, you're just going to want to get the metal and yourself set up into a good position so that you believe that you can, achieve a nice, good, straight cut. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start on the corner, whichever corner you're going to start with. You're going to want to get that metal hot enough to where it forms a puddle and then it becomes molten. Then you're going to want to press down on the oxygen trigger, creating the actual flame that's actually going to cut the metal itself. And you're going to want to slowly drag that across your workpiece. And you're going to want to maintain like an 1/8 to a 1/4 inch gap. And slowly come across the metal. You don't want to go too fast. You don't want to go too slow. Like anything else, practice makes perfect. Alright, so what we have here is some samples for you guys just so you can get a good visualization of what a good and a bad oxy-fuel cut looks like. So sample number 1 is really what you're looking for. You don't want those ridges to be too large. Sample number 2, the ridges get slightly bigger, that could be caused by any number of things from travel speed to, having the torch too far, and then as we progressively go along, they get worse, the ridges get higher, it gets more rigid. Alright, so now that we're done with our actual oxy-fuel cutting, it's time to shut down and turn off all the bottles and bleed out your lines. All you're going to want to do is just shut off both the bottles, crack open your fuel and oxygen lines, and make sure that the pressure on the regulator returns back to 0. Once you're completed with that, just make sure that you back out both of your regulators until there's no more pressure on them and they can spin freely. And that's pretty much the long and short of it. And then just, tear it, put everything back the way you found it, and make sure you clean it up nice.
When you're oxy-fuel cutting, it's always important to remember to have good situational awareness. It's always important to remember to pay attention to what's around you. You always want to make sure that your regulator pressures are correct for the type of tip that you're using and for the thickness of metal that you are desired to be cutting. And it's always important to remember to tear everything down, make sure that your gas is off, make sure that you bleed out your lines, because that's a big safety hazard. You don't want those to be running free just in case somebody might light up a cigarette next to it and blow themselves up. You never know. All right.